Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for TikTok now. I'm just setting up for the live. My audience is on TikTok, so I'm just waiting for them to turn up. I get some people on YouTube sometimes too, but my audience is really on TikTok. Oops, did that wrong. Come on. Hello. Just getting all set up here. I'm going to get a different crowd tonight probably because I'm not usually on this late. Geez, it's 9:18. I'm not good at night. Stephanie Pfaff. Hi, Stephanie. Where are you guys from? I'm always fascinated by that. Especially like on a Sunday night. Where are you guys? Because this could be really, late. Like if you're back east, it's midnight. Morris, Illinois. Illinois, where's that? Illinois time zone. California, same time zone. You're central. Oh, okay. So you're a couple hours ahead. Texas. Hi, Texas. I'm in Vancouver, Canada. 11:19. Yeah, I looked that up. I'm always curious. Central. I don't function very well at night. Northwest Florida. Hello. I don't function very well at night. Like, I couldn't possibly join a live, but I can watch something and fall asleep to it. But at nighttime, I couldn't probably handle a live. Like at 11 o'clock at night, my brain's really shutting down. USA. Most of my people here are American. Most of my clients are American. Alberta, Canada. I get some from Canada too. I always felt like Canadians and Americans were the same. Am I the only one that kind of always kind of felt that way? Like, aren't we all so similar? Never saw us as being that different. Okay, South Georgia. Hi, South Georgia. I'm American. You guys are way better than us. No, I don't. I remember, I never forgot this. Years and years ago, I was traveling through Europe, and we got stuck in a Belgium train station. They literally locked us in at night. We were just got off, and then they locked us in. We were literally locked inside this train station at night. It's kind of creepy, and there was just me and my friend, two Canadian girls, and this is back in the 1980, and I was 19, 20, and there was two American girls. And the two American girls, they each had a sleeping bag, and us dum-dums didn't, because we were staying in hotels and sleeping on trains. We thought, oh, we'll just sleep on the train at night and then go travel during the day. Well, it doesn't quite work out that way. Anyway, and they had two sleeping bags, and we were stuck all night overnight, and it was freezing, and they gave us one of their sleeping bags. Like, I just thought that was so sweet. So yeah. Okay, so let's get going now. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it is bratbusters.com. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. My Calm Leadership Parenting course is full right now. I'll be making some changes, so it'll be available soon. But anyway, okay. And my behavior board is free, and you can download that and try to get respect on your own. You might want to give it a go. If your child is 3 or over, if you want my help, you can hire me. Okay, sorry. It takes me a minute to get into this at night because I'm a morning person, so I'm always a bit dopier at night. I'll get into it. Okay, so parenting questions. Got someone on YouTube. Even when people do turn up on YouTube, you've usually come from TikTok. So I'm not good at YouTube. I don't know how to do it. I love YouTube, but I'm not good at doing it. It's more long form or something. I don't know. I'll get into it one day. TikTok suited me because it's just so quick and easy. Yeah, transitioning from being a stay-at-home mom to working full-time and being away from my 2-year-old. Yeah, are they in daycare, or have you got like family? Or yeah, that would be true. I was a stay-at-home mom, and yeah, that would definitely be tricky. But then some women, like for me, it would have been. But some women go crazy staying at home. So to each his own, eh? There's no right way. It's just whatever you got to do or whatever suits you. I've known women who just could not stay home. They drove them nuts. Laughed my F blah blah. She's so old. Is that me? Or you got kids on here? Uh, can I start ignoring the tantrums at 16 to 18 months old, or should I distract and diverge? I don't know what that means. 16, you're a borderline at that point. And when you're distracting, it's a very subtle kind of way of distracting. So if they're having a tantrum, I still never address the tantrum. But if they're really little, then I would probably just go over on the couch or something and start reading one of their books out loud. Just like I'm just doing, oh, isn't that lovely? And eventually they'll just toddle over to you and they'll forget about the tantrum. That's the idea behind that. But yeah, when they get a little bit older, like 18 months, a year and a half and up, then you just totally ignore it. I wouldn't even. So it is sort of distracting, but you're not saying, here's some candy. It's not like that reward kind of distracting. But as they get older, I wouldn't even do that. You got to leave them to sit in their own mess to learn how to self-regulate. They need to learn that. You can't teach someone how to self-regulate. Yeah. And it's the behavior that we're ignoring here, not the feelings. Okay. How to get a 3-year-old to listen to the word stop. Well, I don't know what you're referring to. Like what I mean is, yeah, I don't know what you're referring to. And if they don't listen to you, it just means they don't respect you. It's all about you. It's never about the kid. Like parents always want me to fix their kids. And I say, I don't do that. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just reacting to your parenting. So work on your leadership skills. Like if you say stop and they're not listening, it means you're not a leader. So you got to work on your leadership skills. Just keep watching. That's all I teach here. Are you guys getting snotty on here? That happens. Okay. Someone was saying that you got to have a tough skin to be on social media. And I thought, yeah, either that or you got to be old. Like I'm old. You just could care less about stuff like that when you get older. But so I either have to have a tough skin or be old. They're kind of the same thing. Does the behavior board work with ODD in an older child? ODD is not a medical diagnosis. It's just a title given to kids that are out of control, which means the parents aren't leaders. That's all it means. Anyway, yeah, of course it works with them. That's where all this started. It all started with kids who were acting out. I never used one. I invented this when I was working with parents who had kids who were out of control. And that's how I invented the behavior board, because the parents are on there too. That's what makes all the difference. So yeah, absolutely. Is bribing a 2-year-old okay? It's never okay to bribe. Bribing is when they're doing something bad, you offer them something good to make them stop. That's never a good idea, because then what are they, 16? Here, I'll give you some money if you stop doing drugs. I mean, you never bribe, never. Well, I'm glad you brought this up. What if 3 kids are doing great and one's struggling, but all the same parenting? Because they're all different personalities. You're not meeting that child's needs. I only had 2 kids and I parented them quite differently. So yeah, you're not meeting that child's needs. That's what it is. You're just not reading them and meeting their needs. They're allowed to be different. They often talk about the black sheep, and I always say, how do you know that one child isn't the good one and the rest of you are all crazy? Like they're just different from you. That's all. You got to learn to meet that child's needs, because you meet their needs and manage their wants. Their wants are the discipline. You manage their wants with discipline, but their needs are, you're obviously not meeting their needs. That's what that says to me. Do you have parenting class, book, anything? I do coaching right now, and I also have some courses. My Calm Leadership one is full right now. I'm working on making it available again in a different form, because it's a time thing, right? I can only handle so many people in that group coaching. So I'm going to put the course out without the group coaching while it's full, and we'll see how that goes. It'll be less money anyway. So yeah, if you want to hire me, just go on my website. That's one-on-one coaching. The course is will be a course on its own. Sorry, it's nighttime. I'm always a bit fuzzy at night, but I'm drinking some Diet Pepsi. It's got caffeine in it, so I should perk up soon. Diet Pepsi Lisa is way more awake than non-Diet Pepsi Lisa. I can't drink coffee or tea, so I drink Diet Pepsi for my caffeine. Okay, 3-year-old basically beating up an 18-month-old during play. 3-year-old can be on the behavior board, and it's no hurting people. And every time they do something like that, the 18-month-old gets to play with their favorite toy for an hour, something like that. Yeah, the fact that they're doing that, you got to catch that. You got to protect the younger one. You got to separate them sometimes too. There's lots of different things that you can try with that. But basically, put on the behavior board, no hurting other people. And when they do, then yeah, make sure that that younger one gets some kind of a reward for being hurt. Like they have to sacrifice their favorite toy to the younger one. You do something mean to someone, you have to do something nice for them. It's sort of like that. It can be confusing. If you want my help, that might just be one session if you want to hire me for that. Okay. Yeah. What should I tell my son when he wants to meet his dad who's in prison and not in his life, 7-year-old boy? That's a coaching issue. I need background. And you never eliminate a parent from a child's life, no matter what they're like. You can still talk about them, even if they're not safe to see them. Doesn't necessarily mean they should see them, but you always sort of want to go with this in mind. You always want to say, every parent does the best they know how. And, so it's not saying, not defending that person, but I'm saying they love you and they did the best that they knew how. So, everyone makes mistakes, blah, blah, blah. You're not your father, you're your own person, so you want to get all this, but you don't want to not talk about that person. Secrets imply shame. So you don't want to have secrets either. So it can be tricky. If you want to hire me for that one, that's a bit of a tricky one. I've worked with that before, kids who had parents who were incarcerated. It's tricky. How do I become a leader to my 3-year-old? Well, you can hire me to do that with you, work on it, or you can try my behavior board by yourself. It's free on my website, bratbusters.com. Yeah, it's about, you got to give respect to get it. That's why you're on that behavior board too. That's what makes it work. I just did a video yesterday. Well, I think it was yesterday. And I think I said it's not about leadership isn't about discipline. It's about bonding with your kids. The discipline's kind of something you just have to do on the side. But really, it's about bonding. You'll see what I mean when you look at that behavior board. Like your consequences are playing with them for 30 minutes, playing hide and seek or something. So you're bonding with your kids. And that's what makes this leadership really, that's what makes it work. The discipline is just like, get it over and done with. It's not something you want to focus on. You want to focus on the good kid, not the bad kid. But you don't ignore the bad behavior. You address it, but quickly get it over with. And then you focus on the good kid. You always want to make kids feel good about themselves. How do I instill good habits and manners when my co-parent parents the complete opposite? Okay. Generally, and I say this all the time, and it's kind of true. When you're a really good, calm, strong leader for your children, they look up to you. You become like a mentor and also a best friend, and you're just someone that they kind of look up to. And and then by the time they're about 3.5, when you're a really good leader, they take your leadership umbrella everywhere. So no matter how other people are, they still are sort of under your umbrella. So if they're polite and respectful with you, they tend to be that way with everybody else too, because they are more of a reflection of the leader. So yeah, you can't control other adults, but you can control yourself. So once you're a good leader, your children are more likely to be a reflection of you than the other person, because when you're a good leader, their self-esteem is usually really high around you. They like themselves when they're around you, so they tend to become the person they are when they're around you. It's just the way it is. My son was in grade 2. This is such a cute story, and his teacher called me at home, and, 'cause I was at the school every day helping out. So she called me, she goes, "Lisa, you won't believe what your son said." She said to him, he was in grade 2, and she said to him, "Why are you so nice?" And he looked up at her kind of all serious, and he said, "Mommy makes us be nice." Like he had no choice. "Mommy makes us be nice." Darn rights. So yeah, they were kinda nice everywhere they went. And dad was the treat master. I was the disciplinarian, the leader. Dad was the treat. We used to call him the treat master. And we kind of had this system where dad would sort of let them get away with a little bit more and he would give them treats. But then as they got older, like past the age of about three and a half, they couldn't wait to get home and tattle on daddy. So, "Daddy let us have ice cream." "Daddy, did you do that?" So, they still, you don't have to be the same, but they still are under your umbrella. So they would go out with dad, and that was all fine with us. Like that was just the way it was. It got to be a little bit of a joke, family joke. Um, when you talk, well, I can't answer this really. When you talk about bonding and connecting, how much of the day is spent doing that? It's not about quality time. You're not sitting and bonding. Okay, kids, we're going to sit and bond now. We did it in the car, like we'd just be singing, singing in the car or wherever. You just sort of are always just connecting with your kids. I don't know how to explain that. Like it's not like you have, okay, between 7 and 7:15 tonight, we're going to be bonding. It's not like that. It's just sort of you're always sort of talking to them. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. Yeah, I don't know how to explain that. We talk about quality time and all that. They're just time is quality. And yeah, you can't plan quality time anyway. It's like usually I would say our best talks, me and my kids, was in the car. We had nothing else to do. We were all trapped in the car together. So driving around, that's when we had probably the best chats, right? How can I help my almost 3-year-old through her screaming meltdowns? She has 6 a day. I would say you're not consistent because if you're ignoring tantrums by 3, they start to peter out because they realize they're not working. They only start to do what works. So it sort of says to me that they must work. Okay. So just make sure tantrums never work. They'll start to peter out. Just ignore them. Um, What's your take on digital devices? I think they're absolutely wonderful. They're part of the world. I think they're absolutely fantastic. But it's like anything in moderation. It you know, shouldn't be constant. So just ignore them. Absolutely ignore tantrums. Children will learn how to self-regulate. If you interfere in that and you get mess with them, you're part of the problem. So I always say you don't join them in the crazy. You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. Like if a kid's having a tantrum with me, um, this would be how I would look. They'd be right beside me. I don't leave the room. And I also wouldn't talk to someone or look on a phone. I think that's rude. So I want them to see that I know they're having that. I might look down every so often like this, like, oh, I wouldn't say anything. It's sort of like, oh, you're still there, eh? But I'd just be filing my nails, just waiting, just waiting. See, I'm modeling calm behavior. I'm modeling what I want from them. I'm also showing that that doesn't have any effect on me whatsoever. It doesn't work, in other words. So anyway, as soon as they're finished with the tantrum, I say, "Oh, you all done? Okay, do you want to go read a book?" I don't discuss it. Why would I? Why? It doesn't make any sense to me at all to discuss it. Um, yeah, I could go on a real rant with that. Yeah, I won't. I'll spare you. It's just so negative, 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 negative. You don't need to. I focus on the good kid. I ignore the crazy, reward the calm. They eventually just stop having tantrums. What can be an underlying reason for a severe night terror episode? Nobody really knows that, by the way. Night terrors can be something there. Now, I don't want to say what it is because I'm not sure the term, but it can be something that we're kind of born just to have. Like it can just be something in our brain that's, sets us off in the middle of the night. So it's not necessarily something that's happened to them. That's what, because some of my clients, I've had child psychologists as clients, and they told me, one of them told me that. They said that it's something like they're just born to have them sometimes. It's like sleepwalking and stuff like that. It's like that. That's how they explained it. Some people like, I've never walked in my sleep. I've talked in my sleep. I eat in my sleep. I chew in my sleep. But I've never got up and walked in my sleep. But some people do that too. That's something you're just sort of born to do, right? Generally. Bu- 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 bu. Is asking if they want a hug after a tantrum a good idea? So I wouldn't. Why would you do that? Like, I don't, here's the reward for doing that. It's sort of like rewarding it almost. I just act as if it didn't happen. If they come over for a hug, I might just go, oh, yeah, okay, whatever, but I wouldn't go overboard with that. No. What if they start throwing stuff? This comes up all the time. You just restrain them and you stop them from throwing things. If they throw something, you put it away and you stop them from, you restrain them, but you're still not looking at them or talking to them. You just hold their hands or hold them here and here if they're bigger at your, down here. So you're both facing forward. It's harder for them to headbutt, bite, or kick you in that position. Or if they're really small, you can pick them up facing away from you and hold the back of their head so they can't headbutt you. So, but yeah, you just restrain them from being violent. I have a course on that if you're interested. It's one of my mini niche courses on my website, bratbusters.com. I don't know why, but a whole bunch of them sold today. I don't know why. I must have done a video on that. Anyway, it's a sugar. What's it called? It's on my website, bratbusters.com, and it is called Tantrum Busting, I think. Anyway, if you're interested in that, and then there's another course on, oh, here they are. Then there's another course on toddlers who bite and hit and etc. who get violent. They're different. That's when they don't. If they're throwing during a tantrum, that's the tantrum course. If they just tend to throw things and bite and hit just because they have that in them, they're aggressive. That's different. So they're handled differently. I'm going to quit therapy. I'm so sick of that bizzo. What does that mean? I used to laugh. I love therapy. I love talking things through. And I used to laugh. I'd say, yeah, oh, geez, I break a nail. I go see someone. Like, I just used to love all that. As you get older, you're kind of your own therapist. I've been kind of can't talk about stuff anymore because you've done it all. And, but yeah, I used to love that. I'd just go and see someone, I'd go talk to someone about my feelings and, because who else is going to put up with all that, right? Yeah, I used to love all that. How do you feel about moms feeling overwhelmed and needing a break? Do you feel that's, yeah, of course it's fair, but what do you mean? You mean that the government should pay them to go on a holiday? Like, what do you mean? Do you feel that's fair? I feel it's a normal thing, yes, but I don't know what you mean by fair. I don't know what you mean by that. But yeah, it's very normal for some moms to need a break. It's very normal. Do you have any material for parenting a child with autism? That's a specialty. I only deal with that in one-on-one coaching. I don't have any material on that. No, I don't. Because they're all so different. And it's not one session at all because we're throwing mud at the wall in the first session. Then the second session, we're seeing what stuck, what worked, what didn't work. And then the third session, we're getting better at it, figuring it out. Is homeschooling good long term? I'll tell you how I feel about homeschooling. I don't have any opinion about it, but what I've seen happen is this is the only negative that I've seen consistently with homeschooling is if you've been homeschooling your kids and then you put them in a public high school, let's say they often go to high school in whatever later on. So then when that happens, if they haven't been socialized with other non-homeschool kids throughout the years, they struggle socially because most kids are not homeschooled. It is more of an exception. So I suggest if you're homeschooling, which I don't have an opinion on it one way or the other, but I've just through my experience with coaching, I suggest that you make sure that they get exposure to other non-homeschooled kids too. So get them out in sports and everything. Don't just have that homeschooling community. I know people do that. It's very common. It's like a religion almost, like it's a really bonding, it's a community, right? And it's great, but also make sure that they get exposure to other kids and other That would be my best advice for that. But yeah, I don't have an opinion on it one way or the other. I couldn't have done it. Um, just wasn't for me. Like I could never be a teacher. That's not my thing. Boy, I felt bad for all you guys when during the pandemic and you had to basically homeschool your kids. God. Oh, do you have any material for parenting teenagers? Not yet. I hope to have that one day. That's all coaching, one-on-one Zoom calls with me. That's my favorite age, teenagers. I started my business doing crisis work with teenagers. That was how I started Bratbusters. Um, now I do more no, I don't do it, but I talk more about preventative work, but I still do a lot of crisis work. But I talk more about prevention. Someone just put someone just put a mustache on me. It was great. Thank you. It was great. Uh, I like that look. I mean, I'm old, so I've got a mustache anyway, but that was a good one. Okay. I've heard about needing a break. Is that the children are their life now? They shouldn't need it. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean by that. Heard about children needing a break. Is that the children are their life now? We should need it. Sorry, I can't figure out what you mean by that. Um, does the tantrum course apply to 20-month-olds? Oh yeah, toddlers. Yeah, absolutely. Um, every so often, I'll throw out a video and I'll put the word tantrum and ignoring in the title. It's kind of clickbait, but it's also, I'm very adamant on this, on ignoring tantrums. And I know that's going to take off and I'm going to get hate like you wouldn't believe. I get so much hate. But I throw that out there every so often. I'm just sort of testing the water to see if people are getting more on board. And I do feel a difference. I can sort of see more people are getting on board with how important it is to ignore tantrums. And but yeah, I get geez, I get so much hate. And I wouldn't say I love it. That's not true. I do. The reason is that it makes me realize I'm still shaking things up, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And I know that the style right now is this please your parent style, and it's not one particular type of parenting. It's a whole genre. It's a whole trend right now to please your kids and talk through all their feelings, all their emotions. And that really has led to a lot of young people with fragile mental health because they're not toughened up enough. Parents are just trying to roll out the red carpet and make life as easy as possible for them. You're not doing them a very good service by doing that. And but yeah, so yeah, every so often I'll throw out toddlers ignoring tantrums, and they just take off. Those videos take off. I don't do many of them because I don't like to sort of lead with that, but I'm very definite about that. You've got to ignore tantrums. It's really because what you're doing is you don't want to talk to a toddler when they're having a tantrum. They're not about words. Toddlers are all about actions. They just are. They're not about words. Their brain processes what they see and what they do more than what they hear and what they say. It's more about what they see and what they do, their actions. And so that's why it's so important to stand there just filing your nails while they're having a tantrum. You're modeling what you want from them. You're showing them what you want. The calmer, the better. I do have that swing story. I don't know if I have the energy for that tonight. I'm sleepy at night. I'm not good at night. But the swing story just is a perfect example of my style compared to the please your parents style and how they work. The difference, and you must have heard that when I tell that story. Not every live, but pretty much. Okay. Whoops. Okay. How do you get younger siblings to bond better? They fight over a lot. Yeah, I get this all the time. What I did with my kids is they were 5 years apart, a boy and a girl, so they didn't have a lot in common. But we played together. I didn't have much one-on-one time with them. I always included, like it was always their dad worked a lot, and so it was the kids and I were on our own most of the time, and so it was, I never sort of singled them out. We did stuff together and crazy stuff, like really nut. You've heard me talk about some of the stuff I did with my kids. And they got bonded because they were having, I was sort of orchestrating the fun, starting it, initiating it, and it was all crazy, all stuff in their world. And then they were having fun with me, and we were all, it helped them to bond. That's how you help them bond. You have fun with them as a group sort of thing. And I have a whole bunch of ideas for that, but I always try my hardest to ignore tantrums. That's all that will work with my 4-year-old. It took a while. Yeah, it does. I know it's difficult. I'm not saying this is easy. I'm saying this is really hard work. You got to earn this respect, by the way. It doesn't just come to you on a silver platter. You got to work for it. I worked my butt off for it when my kids were little, and then I sailed right through the teen years. So yeah, maintaining it is easy. Getting it is hard work. You got to work for this, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. But things are going to get worse before they're going to get better. Because when you start ignoring tantrums and you have all these consequences and all this, they're going to fight back. If they've been in charge in the past, they're going to fight back to maintain control. So be prepared for that. It's going to get worse, but you got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. You can't get the rainbow without that storm. So that's a good thing when they're fighting back, that they're testing you. Tugging my shirt and screaming, "I'm talking to you, mommy." I might look down like this. They will learn. As soon as they calm down, they got to be quick with this. As soon as they calm down, "Oh, do you want to read a book?" You see, you reward the calm, ignore the crazy, reward the calm. You're right there. You're not leaving them. They feel safe. They don't feel unloved, by the way. And if they do, you got bigger fish to fry. If you don't have a close enough bond with your toddler that they can handle being ignored during a tantrum, you got bigger fish to fry. You got other stuff to worry about. But yeah, you're right there. You're right there. They get really they're really watching you. After a while, they start to clue into that at a really young age. They clue in. My kids were quite different with their my son had tantrums, my daughter didn't. He was quite different with dad after a while as he got a little bit older. Because dad would give in. Dad would be more likely to say, "What do you want?" Which, well, I would never have said that. Never in a million years. So, he would go, it would go a little bit longer with dad. Um, so yeah, they learn. And it was I sort of had the attitude like, "Are you kidding me with this? Like, this is never going to work with me." And they do learn, but we got through most of it with ignoring. Yeah, you ignore the crazy, reward the calm. Do you think bonding after a tantrum can make a toddler have a tantrum on purpose for attention? It doesn't work that way. No, they can't force a tantrum. It doesn't work that way. No. No, what they learn is, hey, wait, when I'm calm and I'm polite, I get attention. So you're not rewarding the tantrum. You see what I mean? My son's almost 4 and he has horrible fits. Yeah, he should be growing out of that soon. If you're a calm leader, it usually ends by about 3.5 to 3 3/4. That stuff. It's quite rare for them to continue to have tantrums for much longer after that. Maybe the odd one. I think my son's last tantrum was 3.5. I think that was 30 years ago. I'm not sure. This is a terrible thing to say, but my son's expecting his first child, and there's just a part of me almost hope he has tantrums because my son had tantrums. So I'd like to see my son handle his child with tantrums. Is that petty? I know other grandmas say the same thing. Yeah, I had to put up with your tantrums. I hope you get a kid who has them too. I want to watch how you go. You deal with them. Yeah, tantrums. They're short lived. They're going to grow out of them anyway. It's not a big deal. But grandma will be ignoring them. Okay. Oh, no, no. My son is 10. Have I missed the window to make changes? Oh, God, no. I specialize in teenagers. It's never too late. It's never too late to form that bond with them and learn how to listen effectively and learn how to negotiate with them and make them part of the whole process. It's not 10 years old. Oh, no, gosh, no. You have not missed the window at all. It gets harder. I would say by 17 and 18, it starts to get a lot harder. Um, it's still doable. The bond is always doable, but they're not going to change as much as you might want them to. If they're doing stuff you don't like, but your bond, you can always work on that, on the mutual respect. You can always work on that. And but yeah, no, I specialize in teenagers. I wouldn't have specialized in teenagers if there was no hope. It wouldn't have happened. It's hard work though. Okay. He's a 4 in October. He will say nobody loves me, then scream off to his room. Okay. If they say something like that when they're at a theme park having a great time, then you might want to look into it. If they say it when they're mad, I would say, whatever. Like, who cares? It's pure manipulation. You hate me. I hate me. Everyone hates me. I hate you. And whatever. Like, who cares? It's just manipulation. That's all it is. Yeah, when they say it in anger, just yeah, 10 is not too late at all. You're just in the tween years. Um, 9 to 12 is tween, preteen. The hormones are starting to kick in. It's a little bit later with boys usually. When I'm hired to work with teenage girls, it's 12 to 16 is the average age. When I'm hired to work with teenage boy, like not, I don't work with kids, so it's the parents. It's almost always 15, late 14 or 15. It's really weird. It's almost always right, just turning 15. Girls are 12 to 16. I mean, lots of them are older or younger, but it's a real common thing that they're 15 years old. That's when boys' hormones and all that stuff really starts to, testosterone starts to kick in big time. I'm guessing. What if they actually feel that? What are you talking about? Nobody loves me? Are you getting pulled into that? Do they only say it when they're mad? Or do they say it when they're happy too? Or does it upset you? Even when they're happy, they might say it to get what they want. You got to learn to assess that. If you want my help with that, I could assess that for you pretty quickly. Um, my mom, she was very funny. And she would, like, if I'd said something ridiculous like that because I was mad about something, she would have looked at me and gone, yeah, well, I guess that's the truth then. Or like, she just wouldn't, I would have gone, oh, darn, that didn't work. Like, she just never put up with any crap. Like, she would have called me on it. Okay, this is interesting. I love your advice. My 2-year-old will now say, I did a good job calming down and give me a hug and a kiss. Yeah, that's actually quite cute. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like give them the hug and a kiss, but it's not like, oh my angel. Like you don't want to console them. There you go. You don't want to console them. You kind of, you know, uh, yeah. I could go off on that one. I won't go off. I could talk about that forever. That what's actually going through their heads when they're tantruming and how you act after it's done. You're not oh my angel, I love you. You don't want to console them like as if that was traumatic. You just sort of treat it like, oh well, no big deal. Sure, here's a hug. You want to read a book? It's kind of like that. Like that was no big deal. And they will eventually buy into that. Hey, that was no big deal. If you make it a big deal, they'll think it's a big deal. Well, I like this one. How well can you teach table manners and how to behave in public? Oh my gosh. Boy, what's the difference between public and private? Like what I mean is, I never said to my kids, "We're going out, be on your best behavior," because they were the same everywhere. I was the same mom everywhere. I'm the same everywhere, basically. What you see is what you get. Um, and my kids were too. So yeah, I didn't have a public face and a private face, basically, and my kids didn't either. So yeah, it's the same table manners everywhere. 3 years old, they can certainly learn. And my kids were sitting at the table. They didn't get up or anything from the table. I kept them in that high chair for as long as possible. I think they were 16 before they got out of it. Like, I kept them in that high chair for as long as possible. How do you react to back chatting? I don't really care about it. Like, that's attitude. It just says they don't respect you. I just work on my leadership skills. If a child is being disrespectful to you, you're not a leader. You got to work on your leadership skills. So yeah, I don't address attitude. Attitude is a symptom of your lack of leadership. So yeah, that's all that is. Up your leadership skills. If you want my help, you can hire me, and I'll teach you how to do it. But yeah, it's just a symptom of your lack of leadership. That's all it is. What about hitting and tantrums? Do you still ignore the hitting? That can be part of it. You just restrain them. You restrain them when they're being violent. So you just hold them in some way, but you don't look at them or talk to them. You just hold them very calmly to prevent them from being violent. So yeah, they'll do that. I actually have a course on toddler tantrum busting, and so if they're hitting during a tantrum, that's the tantrum course. If they're just hit because they're aggressive without having a tantrum, that's the toddlers who bite, hit, etc. They're quite different. Why are kids much better behaved when they're not with their siblings? That's not true at all. Like, some of them are, some of them aren't. So yeah, they don't all do that. If they are hitting younger siblings, you got to keep an eye on that. I don't like that kind of stuff. So you really got to keep an eye on it. You treat that like a something you're going to deal with. Okay, this week we're going to stop that. Treat it like a job. You're going to teach them not to do that. So if an older sibling hits a younger sibling, the consequence should be something like this. Well, you hit your little brother, now he gets to play with your favorite toy for the rest of the day. Do you understand? You see? If you're mean to him, you have to be nice to him now. Let him play with something like that. There's a lot of that tonight. I don't get that much of that all the time, like the siblings at each other. It's a lot more of that than normal and alive because I'm on here every day, but I don't see that as much as I do to like tonight. I'm seeing a lot of that. My toddler showing aggression to the dog, does that mean lack of attention? No, it means you got to address that. And if you've got an animal who's being abused, rehome them. I absolutely. There's no way I would allow my kids to. If you can't control and stop a child from abusing a pet, rehome the pet. There's no way I would allow that. So yeah, it has nothing to do with lack of attention. It usually has to do with getting the reaction out of the dog, or well, I don't know specifically, but it's not because of lack of attention usually. My 3-year-old behaves better when he is with my grandparents than when they're home with me. Either your grandparents are better leaders, or he's just more shy around them. So it could be either one. I don't know which. Okay, 5-year-old always wants attention. She gets a lot of one-on-one. Hmm. Uh, I don't know what's going on there. Like, I'd have to assess the situation. She's 5 years old. She needs a lot of attention. In other words, my way or the highway, I'm the center of attention. Yeah, she's got an entitlement issue. Is that what it is? Yeah, you got to work on that. That's a little bit tricky, that one. If you want my help, you have to hire me for that one. Because I can't. I got to assess the situation. Like, you built that. That's a learned behavior, by the way. You built that. So we've got to figure out, how did you build that, and what do we need to correct from your parenting. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of sibling rivalry tonight. There's so many different situations. That's a really hard thing to generalize. Are they 16 and 18? Are they 6 and 8? Are they 1.5 and 3. When did it start? How do you deal with it? How do they get along when you're around? How do they get along when you're not around? If there's just so many different answers there. And so, yeah, there again, if you want my help, you can hire me for coaching. If you want specific help. Otherwise, ask me a really specific question. Ages, do they hit? When did it start? You have to be really specific before I can answer it on here. I need context around that before I can give you a good answer. Often when kids are fighting, I'm often hired for that. It's actually a common one. And although it's not the only thing that's usually going on, it's other stuff too. Anyway, they'll say, well, one of them's just real always hitting his younger or sister. And I'll say, and then I'll say, tell me a little bit more about that. And then sometimes I'll even say, can you send me a video? Like, well, next time we're together on our session, we'll watch the video together. It's often not the one that's hitting or yelling. It's often the other one antagonizing. So you got to assess the situation. Who's starting it? And why are they starting it? And what are they getting out of it? So often it's the one that the parents think is the victim is often the antagonist. So, because I'll say, it's not adding up to me. I want a video. Take a video of a scene, and then we'll assess it together, and I'll show you what's going on. Yeah, sibling rivalry, there's just too many variables with that. It's a tough one to generalize. But the general answer I give is you don't want to bond with your kids individually. You play family games together as a whole, and that helps them. You're having fun, and they're having fun together. You teach your kids how to have fun together. They don't naturally always do that. So if you're playing a family game, they're having fun together as a family. You're teaching them how to enjoy each other's company. Remember, you're the leader. You have to teach them everything. Well, not everything. Some of it's just organic. Some stuff they just learn on their own just by watching you. Yeah, you got a 2-year-old throwing their food on the floor. Both my kids tried that very briefly. I picked it up and put it away, and then I hand fed them, which they didn't want. So every time they threw their food, mommy hand fed them. They didn't want that. So they learned pretty quickly. I throw food, mom hands. I don't get to feed myself. So they learned really quickly with that. But they also knew when mom did something, it was going to happen. Like they knew I wasn't going to go, well, here, do you want this? And now, and I wasn't going to give in. When I said, you don't throw, now mommy's going to feed you. And they would go, oh, you see, it's like when you say something, you got to follow through with it. I didn't lie to them. That all this, empty threats, that's lying. So when I said something, it happened. So for every meal, as soon as they threw food, then mommy fed them the rest of the meal. And it happened. They never got to feed themselves for the rest of that meal. You see, you gotta, when you say something, you gotta follow through. They learned really young with me that when I was 100% predictable. So yeah, you gotta mean what you say. You can't just say something and then say, oh, okay, here you can have it. Oh, they've got your number. They're totally in charge. They're watching you like you wouldn't believe. They're not listening. They're watching you. Do you really mean what you say or not? Yeah, they're going to get frustrated. Think about this. If you don't know how to discipline, go on my website. It's my behavior board's free on my website, bratbusters.com. Teaches you how to give respect to get it. Anyway, if you want extra help, you have to hire me. And the behavior board's about 10% of coaching, but you can get some results, hopefully on your own with just the behavior board. That's free. What was I saying? Someone said something. Shoot. My daughter has been wanting your videos and has learned so much from you with discipline. Excellent. I love that. That's why I'm on here. I just love that. Someone said something and I wanted to talk about it. Now I can't find it. Sugar. Okay. There, but I can't remember what I wanted to say about it, but I know that I found the question. My 17-year-old daughter sometimes gets so frustrated when we sing. Okay. So you got a little one and they start having tantrums or they get frustrated. Think about it this way. let's say you've got a 2-year-old. They've been on this earth for 2 years. Well, outside of your womb. They've been around for 2 years. One of those years, they were a potato laying on a mattress. They've really only how much context do they have about the world? How can they really understand they can't have everything they want? They get an urge, they want it filled. Some kids are just easier. They just accept that not every urge is filled. They're based on urges. They're not based on thought processes. So they get an urge and they want it filled. Well, some of them, they might stick their hands in their pants and smear poop on the wall. They're just going to do stuff. They're just crazy. They're just learning. So yeah, they just don't have any experience with the world yet. So yeah, they're going to get frustrated. That's okay. They're going to outgrow it. It's just a stage. It's only usually a couple of rough years with toddlers because they're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. And some of them have tantrums. Some of them get frustrated. My daughter didn't do any of that. She was the easiest kid in the whole world. My son had tantrums, but overall he was easy too. They weren't precocious kids. So they're kind of boring. They weren't really active kids. So I got up kind of easy that way. But my daughter never really cried or tantrumed or anything. She was just really low key, like easy going. Whereas my son would get frustrated. They're all different, right? But it's just a stage. If a 5-year-old won't behave at school, my first question is always, what do they like at home? Like usually everything starts and ends at home. So usually, like it's very rare. A child, okay, if you're a leader at home, they always behave everywhere else. They just do. It's just the way it is. Unless there's something going on there that's upsetting them. Might not be anything huge, but there could be something going on there potentially. So what's the 5-year-old like at home would be what I would ask. Like, do you just put up with a lot and they've got total freedom? They never have to sit down at meals. The bedtime is, you know what I mean? Are they in charge at home? Then they go to school and they're not in charge anymore. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, tips for staying calm. I struggle with this. I just want to join the crazy. The best thing I could say about this, it's kind of like dieting. It's hell, but it's worth it. You just got to go through the motions. It's worth it. It pays off in the end, but it's a slow burn. It's difficult. It just is. So yeah, I can't help you I can't help you to stay calm. A lot of my clients, I've had some really funny clients, and they'll say, "How do I stay calm?" And they'll say, "Yeah, we resorted to alcohol during the coaching." So, I'm not condoning it, but a lot of them have said that. Yeah, alcohol helps. Like, I'm not suggesting it. I'm just saying a lot of clients have said that. How can I make a kid more confident? You be a leader. Because when you're a leader, you bring out the best in your kids and their self-esteem goes up. And also, I didn't try and protect my kids. Like what I mean is if they got, when I would just throw them out there and say, okay, you're joining a dance or whatever. And then I wouldn't go in there to save the day. I made them they just had to do things. I made them go out in the world and try things. And then one became a joiner and the other one didn't. So as they got older, I didn't push them. I made them try stuff, but I didn't push them into joining everything. So my daughter was a severe joiner. She still is, like, loved joining everything. She loves a full schedule. And I'm not like that. And neither is my son. So, we're all different, right? But I made them try everything. So I threw them out in the world and made them try stuff. At what age did you make them join stuff? At 3. That's when they were joining. Well, that's not true. I started when they were about a year and a half. I went to the gym every day and they went in the gym daycare. And that was their social time and my social time too. So all us moms used to laugh. We finished the aerobics class, and I used to teach aerobics too. So we'd finish the class and we'd walk real slow back to the daycare. So it was like a 2-hour daycare. It's 1 hour of aerobics and then a 1-hour walk back to daycare. So it got to be a joke. But that was they didn't like it at first. They were really little. Once they were up on their feet confidently, that's when I put them in the daycare. I didn't want them crawling around in there. And but anyway, that's when I put them in there. And that became their social life. Like my son used to cry on the weekends because he couldn't go. And my daughter didn't. She never really liked it as much as he did. But yeah, so that's when I started putting them somewhere. It was good for them. You know, it was a real slow walk back to the daycare. Best way to discipline? Well, I'll just keep watching. I don't spank. I don't do timeout. God, I hate timeout. Sometimes I take things away, but that's the last resort. Look on my behavior board. It tells you how you do that. It's free. It's on my website, bratbusters.com, and it's called the behavior board. It's on the home page. And if you want my help, you have to hire me to help you with that. Coaching is about 10% of coaching is the behavior board. I always say you can do the behavior board on your own for free. If you want my help with it, then you got to hire me for that. Because coaching is all about how to make it work. But some parents get results on their own too. Depends on where you're at. How much are you struggling? And some stuff is, it's confusing. I mean, the behavior board's good, but some stuff can be really confusing, especially if you've got like 4 or 5 kids, it can get confusing. And if you've got a bigger family, I always say systems are gold. You really need systems in place with bigger families and stuff. So it can get confusing. But try and keep it simple. If you're going to do that behavior board on your own, make the rules simple, make it doable. So because if I'm doing it with you, not so much. I'll push you harder because I know how to, lead you through it. But if you're going to do it on your own without me, make it doable. You don't want to fail with it. You want to succeed. Okay. Were your parents good leaders? Not as much as me, no. My mom was a leader. My dad was the pleaser. He was let me get away with murder. But as I got older, I tattled on him like my kids did with their dad. Dad let me have that. Like I didn't like getting away with stuff, but my mom had the look, the look. So if I was doing something that I shouldn't be doing or she didn't want me to be doing, this, I can remember it so well. This was the look. And oh, geez, I just hated that. So yeah. So yeah, she would, and I never got yelled at once my whole life. And my mother was a brilliant listener. I told my mom everything. So she was my best friend. And yeah, I told her everything. She was really good listener. So yeah, she was a leader, but not as strict as I was. I was definitely more strict. And a lot more rules. Any tips on bedwetting at 5 years old? Yeah, you do the stop and start method. Bedwetting is usually, they just have underdeveloped bladders or something, like they don't have as much control. So every time they pee, get them to stop and start while they're peeing. It just develops their bladder. I'm not a doctor. That's just something that I've heard over and over and over again. And that can help. So, and make sure that they don't have, if they're bedwetting, make sure that they don't have any liquids 90 minutes, that's 90 minutes before bed. And maybe even get them up at midnight or 1. And they might even still be asleep, and you just sort of carry them in and put them on the toilet and they'll go. So that's just a few little tips. But sometimes they'll be bedwetters till they're teenagers. They just have an underdeveloped bladder. It's not that uncommon for teenagers. Some of them are bedwetters, but they just can't help it. They just don't have control, right? Any tips for parenting a strong? It's all the same here. It's all the same stuff. It's all the same. Just takes a little bit more patience. Hmm. Actually, yeah, I've been on here for an hour now. Oh my goodness, it's after 10. I got to get going. Anyway, I'm going to go now. So my website is bratbusters.com. You can hire me, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. My Calm Leadership Parenting course is full right now. That's why you can't join, because I've had some emails about that. And but I didn't see that coming. What I'm going to do though is I'm working on another one, and it's not going to include the coaching because it has to be full, because I do coaching with that one. So I'm going to do the exact same course without the group coaching on the course, so that anyone can sign up for it. I'm actually was working on that earlier, so I'll get that done. But anyway, or you can download my free behavior board. Anyone can get that for free, and lots of people are getting great success on their own with that. If you want the extra help, you have to hire me to help you with that. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back again tomorrow. Take care.